Hey everybody, it's Harry from STRIATIONS BBQ, the YouTube channel that teaches you how to master barbecue so you can spread barbecue love. I love ribs, and if you do too, you'll really like this episode. I often get asked from my viewers as to, Harry, what's the best rib brand to buy in the store that will allow you to have a competition style results? For those of you who watched my previous episode, I have many rib videos, but the last one I did was on the Smithfield extra tender ribs from Walmart. I cooked these ribs and I was very pleasantly surprised that they were really of high quality in the final end result. And I would not hesitate cooking the Walmart ribs in an actual contest. So what I've done is, to answer the question, I've gone out to different stores. Like I got ribs here from Costco. I bought some from Restaurant Depot. And I bought some also from Sam's Club. So I have 4 kinds of ribs here, and they are St. Louis style ribs. And I'm gonna go cook them competition style, all 4 of them. We'll do a taste comparison and see which one reigns supreme and which kind of a grocery store, or in this case a discount warehouse store, ribs will taste the best, that's closest to a competition rib. I have a lot of rib trimming videos, and I post a lot of like competition style rib trims, but just for your benefit today, I'll just go through a very quick rib trim here to show you how we take a spare rib, which comes from the front of the hog, and we fabricate it into a St. Louis cut. So this is how a spare rib looks like. We're gonna basically cut it up so that it becomes a St. Louis rib with just this portion, with these pieces removed. There's about 6 things we need to do to a rib. This one does not have a brisket bone. So if there's a brisket bone, the first thing you want to do is trim off the brisket bone, which is this piece here. This one has already been trimmed, so I'll skip step 1. Step 2 is to locate the flap or the diaphragm, like so. And you run your knife through and trim off the diaphragm. And save it for soup stock, or you can toss it if you like. This one actually, when you grill it, it's kind of crunchy, makes really good street tacos. One tip I do is, if I'm going to make a stew out of this, I'll show you guys what we do. We kind of like remove the little tough membrane here. What I do is I just run my knife like so, run it down, hold this end, kind of like a little filleting a fish. Trim off the meat portion and leave the tough skin or fascia behind for the diaphragm. Okay, so just like that. See, there's a little tip here. So this piece off, and this piece is a little bit more tender that you can cook, make stew or soups, or make a kind of a beef stew with it. Right? Continue on and do the rest. And this is optional. You don't have to do this, but just want to show you how that, I try not to waste every part of the animal that I trim, because everything is all good eating. In moments of scarcity, human beings need to know how to use every part of the animal. There you go. Once you're done, you have a piece of diaphragm here, the fascia of the diaphragm, and you can, toss this. So this flap is number 2. Number 3 is we're going to remove the rib tip from the St. Louis style rib on this side. This is kind of the rib tip where it's facing the chest. The fastest way that I can show you how is just pick bone number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's usually the longest bone. Run your fingers to the end like so, and then you feel the end of the bone. Usually the longest bone is number 4. Stick your knife right in there. That's gonna be where you're gonna make the parallel cut, and you're gonna cut this way. So flip it around, trim it the other way, running a parallel cut kind of like all the way through the rib to remove the rib tip. And then there's some knuckle bones that are quite soft here, and you've now taken apart the rib tips. I'm going to reassemble it so it looks like this. Okay, so rib tip just like that. This is really good eating. You can cook it separately, or you can cut it into chunks and make a stew out of it. So I'm going to make a pork stew out of it. Maybe I'll do a pork curry episode for you guys. I love curry, and probably have at least 100 different curry recipes that I like, And maybe I should start another channel that features kind of like curried meats and vegetables. But you guys let me know if you want to see a curry channel, because that's what I love to cook also on top of barbecue. Obviously I'm using the wrong knife, so just bear with me. I should be using a chef knife here, but it works. Alright, so now you have the basic St. Louis rib. There's a little flap here that you need to trim. For competition, usually we trim this off, and I'm going to trim it. It's kind of competition style, which is my normal 9 or 10 bone. The first bone usually is not very good eating, so that comes off. So first bone off. That goes into the beef stew pile, and I count about 10 bones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Trim this off. And there you have it. It's a competition rib ready for cooking. As I mentioned to you, the way you pick a rib is through symmetry, size, striations, and marbling. I like my ribs around 4.5 pound mark before I trim them on the spare rib. I typically wouldn't buy a trim St. Louis for competition, but this is just a test. So buying a trim St. Louis is fine. We trim it to about 9 to 10 bones with the first bone removed. And you can see the first one is the SMITHFIELD'S extra tenders. Here's the Sam's, which is I think IVP or Seaboard. This is a Prairie fresh from a Restaurant Depot. And this one's the Costco Swift. So they all look pretty good. We're going to season them up, cook them competition style, and see which one tastes the best. Start the process on the back side first. And these have the membrane pulled. There's one that has not been pulled, so I'm going to show you guys how to pull membrane. It's super simple. You just use like a blunt butter knife to remove the top of the fascia, or you can just use a paper towel like so. Use it to kind of hold, so you have a grip. Now you have a little pocket now. You run your finger through the bottom of it, like so. Gonna get the fascia or the silver skin membrane on the back of the rib. Get it all to the top. So, and it's a lot easier if you use a paper towel trick. Hold on to it, gently pull it, and it should come off in one piece with some luck. Okay, so this is a good teaching moment here. Show you guys a couple of bumps here. This is kind of like bumps of the fat. So some pigs are fattier than others. Insert human joke here. So this one is pretty fatty, so it's a little bit lump of fat right in the middle of the rib. No problemo. Just trim it off with your knife, and you're ready to go, just like that. So I'm glad this one showed up like that, so you can see how we trim it and prep the rib so that you can get maximum best results. What I'm going to do is a lot of teams have been winning first place ribs using the all-purpose on the back side. So I'm just going to do the same thing. If you want, you can help it a little bit with a little bit of a smear. A smear is nothing more than a coating to help the rub stick. I do this. You can do this with Worcestershire. You can do this with mustard. You know, whatever you want. So just a little bit of a tacky surface so that the rub will stick onto the meat. This doesn't really impart any flavor that I'm aware of. I know people always ask me, Harry, you know, do I need the mustard or not? It's kind of optional. If your rib is already wet, if you are marinating your ribs in a wet brine, or you are going to kind of do an injection on your rib or whatever you want to do, you don't really need to do this. But this helps the kind of rub stick a little bit better, so you can get a nice even coat. I'm going to apply my all-purpose now. Just a nice medium coat like so. You notice how I shake the rub a little higher, because that's how you get it nice and even. As we say in competition, missing one shake or rub or one extra shake, you lose the contest. You notice how I also kind of shake it to loosen it before I apply it. And apply it from about a height of about 8 to 10 inches above the meat. Gets nice and even coating of the rub all over. Right? You need to apply quite a lot of it, at least on my rub, because you want to calibrate the right amount of saltiness. After you apply the rub, you want to let the rub kind of have a chance to sit under the meat. I recommend about 90 minutes to about 120 minutes or so is about right, depending on how much you want to do. If you want to leave your rub overnight in the refrigerator on the meat, that's fine too. Just apply a little bit less. Right, so you notice that I never rub a rub. I always pat a rub down. After we apply the rub, we kind of just get it nice and sticky onto the meat, like so. And once we let it kind of settle in, we will flip it over, and on the other side, I'm going to use my chicken wrap, because the chicken and the all-purpose combination works really well. You know, teams. I started introducing this to teams on my channel, and everybody's been trying out, and you know, good success. I have a lot of success stories. I love it when you guys send me your you know, awards and you know, what do you call, walks to the stage. So more of the mustard on this side here. Give it a little massage, or as I learned in England, massage. If you're wondering what are these little toothpick thingies sticking out here, so 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's kind of like my way, so I can keep track of which is which. Because after you start cooking this thing, it's gonna be hard to tell which is which. So I'm gonna have to be careful not to stab myself with the sharp toothpicks as I'm applying the massaging the rib with the mustard here. And on this side, I'm gonna apply my First Place USA chicken rub. And shake a nice medium coat on it, like so. Shake it a little bit more. Shake it, apply. So, shake it and apply. And we'll continue on and get everything nicely coated. I'm gonna let it rest in the refrigerator about maybe about 90 minutes or so to get the maximum flavor. I'm gonna decide which one I'm gonna cook it on tonight. It's late now, so I'm not gonna fuss up over trying to start all my pits. I'm just going to use the One Touch Wonder, which is my GMG. When you have pits at home, you know, it's nice to have a nice wide selection of different kinds of pits for different purposes. Some days, you know, you feel like you have the energy to go ahead and start up your pit, you know, do the whole thing with the charcoal, start a fire and everything. Some days like today, it's been a long week at work, and after work, you sometimes don't have the, you know, the energy to be able to do all of the full-blown barbecue, but it's all fun, and this is now ready to go. We're gonna let it sit for about 90 minutes. Assume 90 minutes have passed. The GMG is nicely warmed up at 275. We're ready to go. It took about 2.5 hours to crust, and you got some beautiful ribs here. Nice color. We're gonna go ahead and wrap them now. Got a few products here. Spray with this one. A bit of parquet. A bit of Slap Daddy sauce. A little bit of agave. A bit of chicken rub. And a touch of cayenne pepper. Go and repeat. And at this point in time, if you guys want, you can clean the butt off the end of the bone, like so. And then you want to push your finger down to kind of break the membrane, so you can get a nice retraction. This is what the pros do. Okay. Repeat on the other side. Brown sugar. Yeah. Here are the 4 slabs of ribs done. So color wise, they look the same because we use the same rub and process. I'm going to cut it up and let's go ahead and taste sample 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, let's get ready to sample the rib. I'm going to start with number 4, which is the Costco. This is a Swift rib. Pick a good one here. It's super tender. It is a good one here. Second one is a Restaurant Depot, Prairie Fresh. This one is going to be Sam's Club. It's IBP. And last one is the Smithfields. Okay, so that was the first round. Now I'm going to have you eat my way across the second round to reinforce my impression. Well, I've spent quite a lot of time eating my way through all the 4 different ribs, and here's my final conclusion. Surprisingly, I think that I like the one from Sam's the best, and I'll tell you why. It's got a very good pork flavor. Also, it's super tender, moist, and it tastes really of very tasty sweet pork. So there's no off flavors whatsoever. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to rate it. The first place, I will give 10 points to give you a sense of kind of where the other ribs all rank. My least favorite one was the one from Costco, which was the Swift. There's nothing wrong with the rib. It's perfectly good eating, but it had sort of a lack of a pork flavor. And it's not as sweet and pork strong flavor as the Sam's. The Sam's I thought was a very good flavor of the pork itself. The Prairie Fresh from Restaurant Depot kind of was somewhere in between. So if this was a 10, I would give this Prairie Fresh a 9. And then the Costco Swift, on a scale of 1 to 10, if this is 10, the one from Sam's, which is IBP, I would give this one a 7.5 to give you a sense of where I think they stand. Obviously, this is a composite score. In the actual contest, we are scored based on appearance, taste, and tenderness, but this is nothing to do with that kind of scoring. I just want to get an overall impression as to which brand of rib meat will fit best if I were to use it for competition. How do these 3 compare against my last attempt cooking it with the Smithfield Extra Tender? The Smithfield Extra Tender was very good, but when I ate it alone in my previous video, it was very good. But as I compare it against now side by side against other types of pork rib brands that are not enhanced, I can actually taste the seasoning that they injected or they vacuum tumbled the Smithfield rib with. So I'm kind of torn because it tastes good, but compared to a natural pork flavor, side by side, I kind of am leaning towards the more natural, unenhanced pork flavor. So I would rate this I would rate it below the Prairie Fresh. So if the IBP from Sam's was a 10, the Prairie Fresh from Restaurant Depot was sort of a 9. This was a 7.5. This one, I would give it a smidgen below the Prairie Fresh from Restaurant Depot. So in side-by-side tasting, I would rate this one sort of a 8.5. So there you have it. 10 for the Sam's, 9 for the Prairie Fresh, 8.5 for the enhanced Smithfield, and then a lower score of 7.5 for the Swift, because the Swift just was not very strong, sweet pork flavor, kind of a little bit kind of bland, and you know, I didn't really care for the flavor of the pork from Swift. All right, so you know, there you have it. This is a totally unscientific test because I only had 4 ribs, so you really cannot base your judgment on eating 1 rib out of 4 ribs. So eating 4 rib bones and trying to reach final conclusions. But that's what I learned. I learned that side-by-side comparison with the Smithfield, I like the Smithfield alone by itself. I thought it was very, very good. But in side-by-side comparison, it actually ranked 3rd place. So 1st place Sam, 2nd place Prairie Fresh, 3rd place the Smithfield, and 4th place Swift. So now that I've given you my impressions, you're probably asking, what should I do? I would recommend you go out and you try to cook this yourself and then see which of these brands of rib meat kind of match your cooking style, your smoke choice style, and also kind of your saucing style. You notice I cook it really plain here. There was no sauce besides what we put in the foil when we wrapped it. So I wanted to kind of taste it for just the pork flavor. But you know, that flavor is very complex because as you combine other flavors of the pork, the rub, the smoke, the mop, the finishing sauce, and any kind of fine finishing rub, it will change the flavor. So based on one data point, which is one rib from each of those four, that's how the numbers stack up today. So it is what it is. So if I were to compete in the future, would I use a Smithfield? Now, in hindsight, after having done this test, the answer is probably not. I'll still stick to my IBP, which is kind of Sam's Club. It has a very natural pork flavor. And whether that will resonate with the judges, it's a kind of a crapshoot because some judges may tend towards more the enhanced flavor. Some judges may want a pure flavor and they just want a taste of just pure good old pork. But now that I'm done with my test, now let me go to see Mr. Beans and see which one Mr. Beans will pick. All right, Mr. Beans, I have 4 samples for you. And the samples are 1, 2, 3, 4. You probably don't know which one is which. So, are you ready to be my taste tester, Beans? Right? Okay, you ready? Okay, go. He's sniffing it. Oh, he's eating sample number 2, which is the Sam's Club. He's eating sample number 3, number 4, and number 1. Wow! Amazingly, Mr. Beans agrees with me because he took on sample number 2, which is Sam's Club. Then he went to the Prairie Fresh. Then he went to the Costco. And then he went with the Smithfield. So Beans, I guess his sense of smell and taste must have sensed that the Smithfield may have a little bit of additional kind of enhancement in the flavor. So he's now licking the plate. And there you go, Beans. So you picked the same one I did. Amazingly, what's the odds of that happening? 1 out of 4, which is 25%. So Beans, you are a good barbecue judging dog because you picked the same sample as me. All right? So thanks for joining me on this episode to find out which is the rib brand that you can buy from a discount grocery store. Just to recap, the Sam's won today. This doesn't mean really anything because it's just 4 data points in a big universe of all the rib possibilities out there. I hope you guys like this video. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. And if you'd like me to do these kinds of shootout videos in the future to share with you my perspective, please like and subscribe and share. And thank you guys for stopping by. We love y'all.